Your Chicago Cubs take the series from the red-hot Red Sox, winning 2-3, have the best record in the National League, the best record in all of baseball, yet somehow only have a one-game lead in their division as of recording. So Dodgers, best team in baseball, my ass. Also, thanks for nothing. That and more, Setup Man Podcast. Let's ride.
Well said, well said.
Oh my God. It's just, so this is recorded, pre-recorded. We are recording at 5:03 Central Time on Sunday afternoon after the Cubs game. The Brewers are currently playing, had the bases loaded, 2-run single with 2 outs, and the Brewers are now up 6-4 as of recording. It's voodoo. I don't know what else to say. Dodgers, they're the best team. Whatever. This is why I think the Cubs can win the World Series, because that Dodgers team, frauds. I am unimpressed by them. Or maybe the Brewers just have their number. But anyway, we're a Cubs podcast, so let's talk Cubs, shall we? Before we get into all that, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Hit that little bell so you get all the notifications on anything we're up to. Breakdowns, more podcast stuff. Anything you want to know, hit that little bell. You will be alerted right away. Audio-only audience, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, leave us a 5-star review and really help us out there. All right, Ty. Cubs take 2-3 from the Red Sox that came into this series winning 10 in a row. But your Chicago Cubs, as of this morning, had the best record in all of baseball. Feels pretty good, right? Like this series, like today is frustrating, Sunday specifically, but they're the best team in baseball.
Yeah, it was an outstanding game on Friday and Saturday. The Cubs really played tremendous baseball in general, from the home run ball to the bases to obviously on the mound with Imanaga and Colin Ray, which Colin Ray this year has just been, man, what a godsend that $5 million spent by Jed to get him. I mean, really just an outstanding addition to the rotation, and obviously in the trust tree of Craig Counsell from back in his Milwaukee days. But overall, just felt like a really good series win. And I kind of alluded to this, like the Sunday game is frustrating from the sense of they actually performed well off Crochet. They just didn't come through in the big moments where they're able to tack a few on, right? And that puts a lot of pressure on a bullpen that's already been used heavily over the weekend, to ultimately then Ryan Presley obviously having his poor outing and so on. But really, they did a great job against Crochet, and hats off to Cade for a start that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But overall, I'm pleased with the results, and here's where I'll leave it at from the team up north is that we just have to continually control what we can control. And this weekend, I felt like the Cubs did that.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that brings the vibes down, right? They just beat I don't know if they're good. I don't think they know if they're good or if they were just hot, but we'll call them solid Boston Red Sox team. You just beat them in your barn, 2 out of 3. Real good accomplishment. The only thing that brings the vibes down is because while the record looks good, you're playing good baseball against a good opponent. Your rivals just won't let you have anything. That's the frustrating part. Cubs play good baseball. They had a good weekend. And yet that flipping team in Milwaukee just can't let us enjoy anything, because even as we record, they're beating the Dodgers, going for the sweep, and their 6th consecutive win against the Dodgers. Like, it's just, that's the frustrating part. As far as the Cubs go, I have nothing to complain about. Today, even the Presley thing, look, it's a bad matchup. Willie Abreu was bound to hit one this weekend. That dude's been on a tear this season. So he lays into one. He actually got 2 today. But against Presley, bad matchup, bad timing, puts one in the seats. It happens. Presley didn't start sharp, and then the next 3 guys, he was lights out. So it happens. Whatever. You won the series. I would have loved to have won today, but you alluded to it. Way too many missed opportunities. PCA, I really thought when he hit that leadoff home run later in the game, was that 6th inning? I really thought at that point, like, okay, here we go. They're going to scrap one across, give it to the bullpen, game over. Let's go. And it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, so here's where I look at that game and I say, okay, moments throughout that game for Cade were good and bad, right? If we're talking about sort of looking at today's game, like The stat line will say the same sort of story as to when he faced Cleveland. Now, Boston's offense comparatively to Cleveland, Boston has a superior offense. So this is actually more impressive as to how he performed here today. But again, there's just moments throughout his start where I look at him and I go, man, like for example, he had a two strike count on Trevor Story, two sweepers in a row that were gross, and then he hangs one over the middle of the plate. So again, it's just the young sort of, ups and downs of the season that are going to happen for a young arm. But overall, I felt like he did a great job. And then you mentioned about PCA, but then you talk about the rest of the squad. It just those moments today where, unfortunately, the guy on the mound is that dominant in Garrett Crochet. And you're talking about you needing clutch hitting off a guy like that is very, very difficult to do. So it was unfortunate, the play over at third, all these different things. It was just one of those games I felt like, Alex, where if we have if we have another run in that situation, I think we win that game, because I think that 2-run setting forces Presley to throw the ball more over the plate to Story there before walking him and then ultimately giving up the home run to Willie Abreu. It sucks, because if they take Saturday's game and put it on Sunday, then we're feeling a heck of a lot better versus the exact same situation. So overall, again, I go, man, if you can somehow win those first two, that gives you breathing room for Sunday, and they did. So it was overall a solid weekend. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Cade there. I mean, did you feel like the same way as well? I felt like it was just certain moments where I was like, man, he's got it. And then certain moments I was like, like he had the leadoff walks, and then he, had the unbelievable defensive plays from Tucker and almost PCA in center there today. But across the infield, they were fantastic. I just felt like, it was for a kid who's a rookie and being put in this rotation in a very difficult position. Like he's done a good job. It's just, I think it's just that he's that top prospect. So we're thinking, okay, continually have these major jumps. And I think it's just going to be a slow incline for the guy.
Yeah, you had mentioned it. I mean, outside of the walks and the once in a while, just wasn't super efficient. He still went toe to toe with Crochet. I know we started off this podcast a little negative, and that's just because of that stupid team in Milwaukee. But overall today, Cade went 5 2/3 innings, didn't allow a run, went toe to toe with one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. The only issue was the walks, which was his reputation. That's the word I'm looking for. When he came up, like, okay, he's got the stuff. He looks great, but he walks a lot of people. Well, his last couple outings, we've started to see that a little bit more and more. Today was no exception. But he was able to work out of trouble. They brought in Thielbar, which that guy, holy man, guy on third, 2 out, made Yoshida, who's a really good bat-to-ball guy. His bat-to-ball skills are really good. No chance.
No chance.
It was filthy. And actually at that point, I was like, oh, okay. That was the moment where I'm like, they get one more. This is over. We got this. It just didn't happen. They had opportunities. But as far as Cade goes, I really liked what I saw today. And before you and I hit the record button, I was listening to a little bit of his post-game presser. He knew what was on the line today, which for a young pitcher like Ben Brown, and this is no shade at Ben Brown, this is more of a praise for Cade. Like, his answers, he's like, well, with Crochet, there's not going to be a lot of runs, so you got to buckle down. I was just like, this guy gets it. And he's showed up. They made this point on Marquee, too. When he's matched up with Crochet, he shows up. They mentioned a couple other, like, top-of-the-line pitchers. When he's gone up against them, he steps up. So, yes, they lost today. That sucks. But as far as Cade Horton goes, awesome. I thought he was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too is that, I was looking through, and unfortunately with Keller being used that Friday and Saturday game in games 1 and 2, it puts the Cubs in a difficult position. And look, Presley's done a great job this year, despite, some certain outings. And of course the one today, I just felt like he wasn't aggressive towards Story at all. But that leads me to this point of, I tweeted this, and I feel like this is the way that I look. I'm trying to look at starts by Cade Horton, or look at starts by guys that right now are sort of this like cushion until we can possibly get some ammo here at the trade deadline. But can you just keep us in the game? can you give us a chance to win the ball game? And I give Cade a lot of credit because some of the exit velos today by some of these guys, 108.4, 103.5, 108, 109,
Yeah.
102. Like there was some absolute missiles hit off the bat. And, that's the game of baseball sometimes, is that when you're efficient and you're battling in the zone, the game will reward you. But again, he had some leadoff walks. Again, there's just these ups and downs. But again, I tweeted this, like, he gave us a chance to win a ball game. And that is all you can ask for right now as we move into the trade deadline coming up very, very soon. So any other thoughts here on this series, Alex? I feel like you may have a few more. If not, I do as well.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to point out, we could talk pitching in just a second. I just want to point out, I know I mentioned this on our last show, but Matt Shaw, his batting stance, his approach, everything looks way different. I thought, well, the numbers probably won't be like, oh, Matt Shaw had a great weekend. I thought he looked better. I'm not saying we shouldn't go get a third baseman now, but overall, what were your thoughts on Matt Shaw? Because just eyeball test, I was like, oh, it kind of looks, I think it was it Friday's game? He hit a dart up the middle and then he punched one the other way. It was kind of like, oh, hey, I know that guy. Where's he been?
Absolutely. Like it was so impressive. And I want to give a shout out to Brendan Miller from CHGO, who posted a really, really solid video showcasing the adjustments Matt Shaw has made since he's come into the big leagues. It's very, very evident that the changes that he has made were definitely, how can I say this, an urgent move, right?
Yeah.
It's been a necessity of move. So over the course since the start in against LA and Japan to now, he really has made quite a few adjustments, and Brendan did a great job showcasing the video, and it showcases the certain movements that he's made and where those moves happened over the course of the year. So I definitely recommend going to look at that tweet. I actually reposted it as well. But you have to give a credit to when credit's due, and the guy has not laid his guard down. Like he really has wanted to figure this out and stay in the big leagues. And I give the kid a lot of credit, man. I mean, it's hard. That is the adjustments he's had to make thus far. Like, he probably looked at a guy like PCA and went, well, you know what? Yeah, PCA had some success as well, but he made the adjustments and I'm a really good hitter and I still need to make these adjustments. Yeah. So like PCA versus Matt Shaw hitting wise in the minor leagues wasn't even in comparison. It was Matt Shaw as a supreme hitter to him. And look where they're at now. They're two completely different hitters, and Matt Shaw is slowly getting better. And you just love the story, man. You just love how hard he plays, especially how good he is over at third base. He's been tremendous. So he's trying to contribute in any way possible. And again, his swings were very encouraging. Yeah. Now, do I still want them to make a move at the deadline? It's hard for me not to say that I don't, because it's just, I said the other day that was their number one priority. And again, that's up for judgment on if it's a starter or this or that. You can look at it in many different ways, but I'm sticking with it where I still would like to see them get a big name.
Yeah.
But if Matt Shaw is consistently making these adjustments, that's a good sign for his future success in the big leagues.
I'm 100% with you. And our friends over at Locked On, Sam Olber, tweeted out on Saturday when he hit the pinch hit home run, like, oh, pinch hit home run. Interesting. Just keep note of that.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair because, truthfully, even let's say, again, we're the show today is going to be trade rumors. A lot of them came out from credible reporters, some just kind of Twitter rumors. But regardless, we're going to go over that in just a second. But even if you don't get a Eugenio Suarez or one of these big names, what if you get someone just to platoon with Shaw? Give him opportunities to just thrive. Maybe he only faces left-handed pitching. I don't know what the numbers bear out. That just kind of came off the top of my head. But, maybe if there's a situation where you feel like he could contribute offensively and build his confidence up, great. Get him a platoon partner. Right now, the offense is clicking at a rate where you don't necessarily need him to be Mike Schmidt or, Scott Rowland, prime Scott Rowland. You don't need that. But he does need at least a platoon partner over there. Maybe he is a bench guy. Maybe he's a defensive replacement, whatever. But I do think there's a place for him on this big league team, especially after this past week, which I think is encouraging and a step up from where we were, say, even a week ago.
Well, look at the bench right now. Would you rather have on the bench? If we're looking at this, okay, so if we're looking at this and saying, okay, Matt Shaw's development as a bench bat is probably going to lessen a little bit than if you were to go down to AAA, right?
Sure. Fair.
But realistically, when you're talking about, experience of playing, playoff, playing playoff baseball one, but before that, playing very competitive, high level baseball, trying to figure out how to win games, trying to figure out a way to win a division. Like all these things are really, really good for him to have exposure to versus him just going to AAA and playing every day. Yeah, maybe those adjustments, maybe he can work on those certain things. So there is that argument now. But if you look at the bench, he's better than John Birdie.
Yep.
He's better than Vidal Brujan.
Anyone is. You and I would be better than Brujan.
And here's the key thing too, right? Okay, statistically, yes, for the entirety of the year, I believe right now it's still John Birdie and Vidal Brujan probably have a little bit of a better OPS than Matt Shaw.
I can look it up while
look it up while we're doing this because I think it's important to note out. But I think where I look at it too is his base running. So his base running is tremendous. So not only are you getting a fantastic base runner, you're also getting a better defender over at third base. So getting somebody that is, like you said, Alex, you can get somebody who can be a platoon bat. But hopefully, here's the thing, though, Alex. He's made a lot of these adjustments. One of the adjustments that he's made as of late, obviously, you guys can all see that. Can that be the difference maker moving forward, or is he again going to take some steps back? So there's all of these things to look at where I'm going, okay, with Matt Shaw right now, before the trade deadline on the 31st, I think he is fine to play over there until the Milwaukee series. That's when I would preferably like them to see them make a move because I think that there will be a seller by then that's going to have a big-time third baseman because Milwaukee, you play them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The trade deadline is on Thursday.
Yeah.
I think that is where Matt Shaw really has to showcase himself over the next 6 games. I really do because, man, that Milwaukee series is just going to be so key now with how things are going.
Yeah, thanks, Dodgers. So just a quick update on the OPS numbers that you were asking for. So Brujan's OPS is 452. Birdie is sitting at 511, and Shaw still leads 585. Now, None of those numbers are going to knock anyone's socks off, but I do think there's a story to tell there. The fact that he's 70 points higher than the next best guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, even if it's just a platoon, they need something. They just need another bat of some nature. I would like it to be Suarez, but I don't think it's going to be. Speaking of pickups, something that broke before the show, we should probably, since there was some questions about it, let's play the breaking news sounder. We do have a little bit of breaking news. David Robertson finally has a team. The reliever is going to the Phillies. So the Phillies pick up David Robertson, former Cub. Kind of whispers in the offseason. Everyone was kind of wondering, why don't the Cubs just go get Robertson? Well, they didn't, and the 40-year-old now has a new home in Philadelphia. And money-wise, kind of confusing. It sounds like, per Bob Nightingale, he's getting about $6 million, but the contract is $16 million prorated. I am not a cap guy. I am not a numbers guy. We're picking this up as we go because, again, breaking news. So David Robertson to the Phillies. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Just an interesting little tidbit. And just another transaction as we get into all of that. So, you know what? Before we switch to the rumor mill, I just want to quickly shout out Shota Imanaga, who was absolutely brilliant on Fox Saturday Night Baseball. 7 shutout innings, only 1 walk, 5 Ks, and was dominant. That was Shota at his peak when they needed him in a kind of a tough spot. Obviously, the offense hit 5 homers, so that helps as well. But Shota Imanaga, 7 shutout innings. I just want to shout him out because he was unbelievably good last night.
And I mean, you said it. I mean, he's starting to get back into Shota form, which just talk about timing when you need it the most. So credit to Shota. And again, like I said earlier, Colin Ray, 5 innings pitched, did have 4 walks, 5 Ks, did have some traffic on the bases, but again, a professional arm. just understands how to get outs when he needs to get outs. And the bullpen on Friday and Saturday, outstanding work, especially on Friday with Thielbar, Presley, Pomeranz, Keller, and then my unsung hero, which was Daniel Palencia, just shutting the door down. So overall, again, let's end on a positive note, Alex. This team has, like you said, has the best record in baseball. I'm just thrilled that we have this opportunity going into the deadline to be for sure buyers, and hopefully Jed gets to make his biggest splash of his career thus far as the president of baseball operations.
Yeah, and speaking of Jed, as we now will transition into the rumor mill, because there are a lot of new rumors out that came out the last couple days. On the marquee broadcast, they talked to Jed today, and he made a good point. Like, at this point, we are a week and a half away from the trade deadline as we record this. He made the point, okay, teams are looking for 120 cents on the dollar. Teams that are looking to buy are looking for 50, 60, 70 cents on the dollar to try and make deals. He said, when the deadline comes, that's when you find more common ground. So it doesn't sound, and obviously he would never say that, oh, we have a deal in the works with Team X and we're going to make, he would obviously never say that. But I did think it was interesting that he was a little transparent with that. Like, yeah, that to me, that read, yeah, we've talked to a couple teams, but their asking prices are astronomical at this point, which a guy like Eugenio Suarez hit 2 more homers today. Yeah, I would want a lot for that guy too.
Yeah, it's Jed has done such a good job of not revealing anything that they're looking at and making it very clear that, look, we know that we're not going to let you guys make us pay an astronomical amount for this player because you're not going to make a move until the trade deadline.
Yeah, until
anyway. So the fact is that in negotiation, you don't want to show your hand. And Jed does a great job not showing his hand. And I really do. I think he's going to surprise us with some of the moves that he's going to make. I think that they're going to be very intriguing, very different, well-designed, and excited to see what he does.
He did mention on the broadcast, too, when they were talking to him, he wants to be creative. That word came up again, creative. What does that mean? Maybe that's a team that you're not thinking about that would sell. Maybe they do. Maybe it's a player no one's thinking of, which I have a couple names here that are interesting that popped up on Twitter.
One more thing as well that he brought up, which I thought was just interesting, was he mentioned, I think Boog asked him, would you move the trade deadline back based on the fact that the new playoff format create less sellers? I thought that was interesting, but that could be obviously a conversation in 2027 when we don't have baseball. But we're not going to bring that up, right?
Yeah. Well, the last thing I want to say on Jed's...
You brought that up. I think you just brought it up.
I probably did. I don't know.
No, you said it. You said it. You said Ty, you know that we're not playing. You said we're not playing baseball in 2027. You just said that.
I didn't say that. I would hope that doesn't. I want baseball in 27. But actually, before we move to the room,
you are creating such bad vibes by saying that, man. I don't know if I'll ever forgive you. I don't know if I can.
If there's no baseball, I may never forgive myself. What are we supposed to do all summer? Wait till Joey Chestnut eats on the 4th of July? Come on, baseball. Figure it out. I don't want to just wait for Joey Chestnut. Also, I want to give you a shout out real quick, Ty, because on the broadcast, you had brought up in our last podcast last time we talked about what they would be willing to give up. Jed made it very clear on the broadcast today, we have a lot of good years of baseball left. We don't want to just push all in and then there's nothing. So just interesting thought that you and him are on the same wavelength. So I thought that was interesting. That's
kind of cool.
I thought it was kind of cool. Anyway, you guys are here for the names, right? We are officially in transaction season. So there is a whole new batch of rumors. We have some sellers. We have some question marks. Ty has been charting it out on X, which if you haven't followed at Setupman Ty on X, you're missing out because he's got a lot of good stuff. You can also follow me if you want at AJ Brault, but I don't really tweet all that much. Self-plug. But we'll get into all that. But first, let's get through some rumors, hey? So this is, again, take these with a grain of salt. They are rumors. I want to make that abundantly clear. The first rumor I have is from a Twitter account at Hot Stove Cubbies. Again, if y'all remember Charles the Cat during the Yu Darvish saga on X or Twitter at that point, Like people are okay, whatever. This guy doesn't know anything, and he happened to be right. Sometime, what was the Quintana trade was broken by two randos. Like it just take it with a grain of salt. But anyway, at Hot Stove Cubbies on Twitter said that he's heard that the Cubs and Rays have had trade talks around Peter Fairbanks, the closer for Tampa Bay, and Hassan Kim, the utility man. Although Kim has battled injuries, he's only got 28 plate appearances on the year, but just an interesting name to throw out there. I'm more interested in Peter Fairbanks, the closer. On the season, he's 4-3. He's got 16 saves, a 2.92 ERA. Ty, I kind of love it. I don't know what Tampa would want. They're also kind of on this weird seller bubble. I would imagine they're sellers as I quick look up the standings. Yeah, they're 52-48, 6.5 back in the division. Wild card, let's quick check that.
They're top in the wild card, or they're like number 2.
Game and a half. So interesting. I don't know why Tampa would sell, but Fairbanks is a name if Tampa would fall off a cliff. I don't know why they would, but interesting name for the back of the bullpen.
Well, and here's the other thing too. I mean, the thing is that if you look at Fairbanks, so he's got a club option in 2026 for $7 million, which Presley was what? Presley was just at around. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on the number, but
the Cubs spent money, so I think it was like 11 or 12 million, but they paid
so you're getting a better arm at lesser of a cost in the bullpen in 2026 if you add a guy like Fairbanks. And he's a back end guy, guys. Like it's not. This is an easy 9th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning guy. No doubt in my mind. He's only given up 1 home run this year thus far. He's got a 200 batting average against. He's had an interesting career. He's a fun guy to have in the clubhouse. I know he's a very weird dude. And he gives some of the best interviews. If you want to just humor yourself, just look up Peter Fairbanks interviews. They are classic. Him and the media members down in Tampa Bay just have a time together there. He seems like a fun dude, but from the baseball side of things, it's a legit arm, and it's an arm if you add right now is playoff caliber, can go in the 9th inning, no problem at all. So it's an intriguing arm. Now, Alex, 1.5 out of a playoff spot. This team is intriguing for sure. Obviously, they have a weird situation with playing at a AAA stadium, and they actually announced that if they do make the playoffs and if they do make the World Series, I think it's the World Series too, that they will play at that AAA stadium, which is just I feel for them because it was nobody's fault. It was a tragic disaster with the whole stadium thing. So it wasn't anything that they were able to control. But look, this team, like I said, is 1.5 out of a wild card spot right now. They're a very, very good squad. So they could easily, in the next week and a half, find a way to go. And I actually had them as buyers before this weekend. And I still have them as buyers in my position that I'm in right now with that. But I think that he is that type of arm. Now on Kim's side of things, he's got a player option of $16 million in 2026. If we're looking at where obviously we have needs right now, would be over at third base. In his career, he's logged 590 innings at third base. This year, he's only played shortstop and second base thus far, but they have a guy who's likely a superstar for the coming years in Junior Caminero over at third base. So they don't necessarily need him over there, but he obviously can play over there, and he's been a good player in the past. He unfortunately just had a gnarly shoulder injury that's put him out for a while. So again, 2 names that I'm excited for. I'm shocked to hear that they're even considering selling, but it makes sense with their contracts if you think about it. But it's again, everything's going to change over the next 11 days.
Well, exactly, and again, rumor, take it at Hot Stove Cubbies. This is no disrespect to whoever runs that account. Who knows? It's not like this is Jeff Passan, but just an interesting name that I wanted to bring up. Like, oh, this could be a name that no one's really thinking of. Tampa's 3-7 in their last 10. They're just their owner just sold. So are they worried about this year? The guy that bought it, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but sounds like he wants to be competitive. Ken Rosenthal named Tampa Bay as a potential surprise suitor for Kyle Tucker in the offseason. Like, there's some weird stuff going on with Tampa. So maybe if they continue to slide, like I said, 3-7 in their last 10. It's not like they've been lighting the world on fire, but only a game and a half out in the wild card. So who knows? This account at Hot Stove Cubbies also reported that the Cubs checked in with Baltimore about third baseman Jordan Westberg, as well as closing pitcher Felix Bautista, but the talks didn't go anywhere. I think that's one for both of those guys. I think the price is going to be really high. Bautista is one of the better closers in the game. Westberg had a sensational year last year. Hasn't put up the same numbers this year, but as a third baseman, young guy, I don't know why Baltimore would sell those guys right now, and I'm sure the price tags on both those guys is extremely high, so that's not totally surprising. If there's any truth to this, that talks didn't go anywhere because the Cubs probably picked up the phone. Hey, what would it take for Bautista? We want Casey, Shaw. Okay, goodbye. Click. I don't think that went very far, but interesting
Well,
names nonetheless.
And if that is, even if those names are true, that goes right back to the point you mentioned earlier that Jed brought up, right? Every team wants 120 cents on the dollar for the
Yeah.
players that they have right now. So look, in 11 days, or sorry, 10 to 11 days, when we come up on the 31st for the trade deadline, those the asking price could be significantly lower, or the demand could be so high that the prospect haul is still too much for Jed to accept. So again, it's great to hear though that these things are coming out, and it makes it all exciting. The next, like I said, this is the best time of the year, especially when your team's doing well.
Oh, absolutely. And I just quick looked up Jordan Westberg's numbers. I know he was battling some injuries early in the year. He's hitting 257. He's got 10 homers. OPS of 783. Yeah, clear upgrade, but he's also not a free agent until 2030, and Baltimore could probably bounce back pretty quick. They just had some underperforming talent this year. They were, to quote a friend of ours, underperforming projections. So it's just, I don't know why Baltimore would sell that. Felix Bautista, on the other hand, reliever, you could get a lot for him. That makes sense to me. Let's get to some more rumors. So John Heyman came out today, I believe it was today, but reportedly several teams were asking about Washington Nationals pitcher Mackenzie Gore. Now, the interesting thing with the Nationals is, yes, they are up the track. They are probably sellers, but they got a new GM. What does the new GM want to do? Is he going to sell? Is he going to move Mackenzie Gore? That's the other thing. He's under control for a little bit yet. He's one of the best young pitchers in the league. He had a really rough start today. Gave up 8 in 2 1/3 innings, so he wasn't great today. But overall, has had a phenomenal season, all-star. But he did also say probably a long shot they will actually move him. But the fact that they're listening, a little interesting. He did also mention that the Nationals have already basically said, hey, these guys are available. Come get them or make us offers. That would be closer Kyle Finnegan, who we've mentioned on this show before. 1-4 in the season, of 4.25 ERA, 19 saves and 36 innings pitched. Josh Bell, I don't think the Cubs would have any interest in that. It doesn't really make sense for them. Utility man, Ahmed Rosario, another guy, maybe as a throw-in, but I wouldn't be like, oh, we got to get this guy. Mike Soroka is a name that's interesting. A lot of whispers about Mike Soroka lately. I personally don't love it, but I understand the intrigue there. And then Nathaniel Lowe, first baseman again, not really a fit for the Cubs. But any names there? I mean, Mackenzie Gore being a long shot, I don't know why they would move him. If you can make it happen, absolutely. I just don't see it happening. So any names that of the quote-unquote available guys that intrigue you?
Man, Soroka really does. And Soroka had a little bit of a downspin there for a few starts, but he just came out against San Diego and looked great. So it's a name that you would love to have as this not three, but probably I would, that 4 and 5. I would even put him up there number 3 right now, considering that JMO's out. So Colin Ray really being your number 3 at this point. But, a name that of a guy that has had a lot of success in his past, had a gnarly hamstring, ACL, all these different injuries, unfortunately, around, with his lower half, that has really put him in a difficult position, but has really turned it around. So that's a name that I would really be interested in. Rosario has a lot of speed and can play all over, so that's an intriguing name. He's been rough, though. Finnegan, again, would just be another name just to add to this amazing bullpen that we already have. I would not be mad about that per se. And then, like you said, Josh Bell, Nathaniel Lowe just makes no sense whatsoever to have on this team right now. So again, some intriguing names. I'm excited to hear it. Yeah, if they trade Mackenzie Gore, that will be totally based off the fact of new management coming in and wanting to somehow, some way, sort of reset. But that would make utterly no sense because he's an ace for the future. And that team could easily next year be a wild card team, if I'm being completely honest with you. James Wood, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, like that's a trio they better keep for a long time.
Well, and I'm going to look up Mackenzie Gore's contract status just real quick. So he's a free agent in 28. So really the argument for would be, can we get a competitive team by 2028 in their division, which the Braves this year, woof. But overall, we know the Braves will be back next year. The Phillies, they look like they're set up for quite a long run here. Even the Marlins are frisky. Like, I don't know if they've passed Washington, but the Marlins are frisky. The Mets, obviously with their owner, they're always going to be in the mix. So
Frisky?
I get why the idea would be, okay.
Frisky.
The frisky Marlins?
The frisky Marlins and the frisky Mets. Who else is frisky?
Who else is frisky?
Continue on.
Okay. But no, the argument for it would be, can we figure out if we're going to be competitive by 2028 or not? Ty's got his head in his hands. Happy Sunday.
We're going to be frisky, I tell you what.
Hey. Okay. So
don't go to a Coldplay concert, folks. Okay.
It's okay. It's Sunday. We're having fun. This probably is going to be a fun question, but I have a question for you. And it's also for the lockdown guys. So I'm looking at Mike Soroka's splits. This is a name I've heard a lot about. Why are we so intrigued? I'm looking. So the last last 2 weeks, he's got an ERA of 3, okay, in 9 innings. But he hasn't been good at home in Washington, which can kind of play as a pitcher-hitter part, kind of like Wrigley, depends on the day. His away numbers aren't great. He's 2-3 in 8 starts, 5.13 ERA. I don't understand the love for Mike Soroka. So, like I'm 5 years old, can you explain it to me? And that's a serious question. I'm not being like, Mike Soroka. I legitimately want to know what the intrigue is there because I don't really see it.
I love his arsenal, and the other thing too is that he's a free agent after this year.
Okay,
so and like the fact is that he's athletic. He really can spin it, and with an organization like the Cubs, they aren't going to have to make major adjustments to what he has. And in my opinion, I think that he's a guy that you can easily slot in the back end of the rotation and have for the remainder of the year. And then you can have on the playoff roster if you want to, but isn't necessarily a name that's going to be starting a playoff game unless he completely turns it around. Like he's he ends up being somebody that really, comes in and he's 5 or 6 quality starts in a row type of thing. So it's not a name that I think people aren't necessarily asking for him to come in and be a number 2A, 2B behind Boyd and Imanaga. I think they really just want him in the back end rotation because right now, like Colin Ray, Cade Horton's obviously going to be, who knows what's going to be happening with the innings limit side of things. And then Flexen, we'll see. He wasn't a good matchup against the Yankees last time out. We'll see if hopefully he might get a start here against Kansas City. But again, I think Soroka is just a nice addition, especially with the Nationals not necessarily being a team that's going to be needing, huge hauls for a name like that. They're just not going to get it. So they're going to be looking to just get whatever they can. And the Cubs have enough in their system to be able to give up something like that and not be affected by it.
Fair enough. And honestly, I don't know.
Just don't yell at me. Just stop yelling at me.
I'm not
You've been yelling at me. You said before you got on the show today, I have old man energy.
I do have some old man energy, and it's because of the Brewers, but we don't have to talk about them anymore. We've given them a lot of airtime on a Cubs show. Well, first of all, not really breaking news, but it was announced that the Cubs are going with Ryan Brazier to open tomorrow. So they're going with the opener bullpen game tomorrow. I'm imagining they're going to get a bigger name than Soroka. So back end, fine. I'm fine with that. But I do want to ask the question, are we sure he's better than Colin Ray? Like, wouldn't you just rather keep Colin Ray and not just keep – it's like I feel like we have a better Mike Soroka at home.
Well, so like Imanaga, Boyd, Tyone when he comes back. Tyone's not coming back for another month.
Yeah, he's going to be out a while.
He's going to be out a while. So then right now you have Colin Ray, Cade Horton, Chris Flexen.
Well, / bullpen, yeah. So
/
no,
bullpen, that's why I get what you're saying. So the thing is right now, so maybe we do this on the next show, is that we look at what names right now we could see as depth pieces that aren't going to cost you a haul that can fill in for those innings right now that we need, that we're missing from Tyone and that we could possibly lose with Horton if they goes on the innings limit.
Yeah. And
He's not. That's not the argument. Is he better than Colin Ray? It's can we find some pieces right now to take away the work that's going to be needed from our bullpen here over the next month and a half?
Yeah, and I phrased that poorly. I was thinking more big picture. So imagining they're getting a, let's call 2-3 for the rotation at the deadline. So then if you add Soroka to that mix, then it, in my opinion, it becomes Soroka versus Ray, which at that point it's like, well, why don't we just stick with Ray at that point? That was the argument I was making. I phrased that poorly. But anyway, okay. Moving on. So this is
so you're crushing it, buddy. You're so good at this, dude. You're very good at hosting a show. You are. You're tremendous. So
well,
I'm just making sure. All I'm doing is just,
you keep me in check. Appreciate
I'm not
it.
yelling at you. Am I yelling at you?
I don't know.
We spent like probably 10 minutes of the show telling each other we've been yelling at each other. So that's where we're at on a Sunday, folks. I'm excited for these other names, though.
Yeah, so let's get to. I'm going to. So next on our outline, because I outlined this stuff out, I'm going to skip this one because I want to have a bigger conversation on that. So I just want to go to Bob Nightingale's report that the Braves are expected to listen to offers for second baseman Ozzie Albies, center fielder Michael Harris, and catcher Sean Murphy. Interesting. Again, I don't think there's a fit for Ozzie Albies as much as I love watching him play. I don't think there's a fit with the Cubs. Michael Harris, the Cubs already got a plethora of outfielders, whether it's the big league team or the minor league team. Not really a match there. And Sean Murphy, Carson Kelly kind of had a rough month or two. He looks better now, a little more average. Miguel Amaya's a week or two away. I don't know that there's a fit there. Just interesting that those names are going to be on the market. Would Milwaukee take a shot at any of those names? I don't think so, but maybe the Yankees, if they can't get a deal done with Suarez, do they pivot to Albies, who would have a short porch and left? I know he's a switch hitter, but just interesting.
Short porch and right. It's the short porch.
Did I say left again?
You said left again, dude.
God damn it. Sunday shows. All right.
Make me feel slow. Go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. And then finally, so this is one of those, take these rumors with a grain of salt. It was reported by Bob Nightingale that the Twins will listen to offers for Joe Ryan, even though the Twins said last week that they're not taking offers for Joe Ryan. But apparently, according to Bob Nightingale, they'll listen to offers, but not expected to trade him for whatever that's worth. Here's the conversation I want to have that probably will be the headline of this show today. Will Clase be in session? The Cleveland Guardians reportedly are taking offers for relievers Cade Smith and all-world reliever / closer Emmanuel Clase. But it is noted that the prices are extremely high, and it doesn't look like either will get traded. But the fact that they're even listening, a couple years under control. I had a nice gentleman on Twitter reach out to me after I retweeted this and then said, Jed, you up? And to which someone responded, stay far, far away from Emmanuel Clase. He's overrated and overused. Okay. He's a free agent 27, so you would have him for a season and a half. This year alone, 5-2, 286 ERA, 21 saves, 44 innings pitched. That's not outrageous. For comparison, Brad Keller has pitched 44 innings this season. I just think I would do heinous crimes to have this guy in the back of my bullpen. I get it. He's overused. He had a bad postseason last year, but he also won a ton of awards. He had Cy Young Award votes last year. We're talking about an all-world closer in his 20s, in his prime. I mean, Ty, if he's even slightly available, you got to at least pick up the phone, right? And at least have a conversation. Hey, how about, because look, let's face it, Cleveland's offense sucks. What do you have in your minor league system? Offense. You can make a match there. And you need, let's face it, Palencia's been awesome, but let's put Palencia 8, Clase in the 9th. Oh, don't tempt me with a good time. Let's get it. But I know it's kind of a pipe dream. So, Ty, Emmanuel Clase, I'm not crazy by wanting this guy, right?
You aren't crazy, Alex. He really is. He is an all-world talent. And for the folks that want to look at numbers and do all those things, I'm not here to stand here and say you're wrong for looking at certain metrics or certain stats that haven't improved over the last year. My friend Sam Olber, our good friend Sam Olber, always says they're like field goal kickers. You never know what
Sure.
you're getting from them. I will say this. I don't think Emmanuel Clase is in that category. I believe he's in the tier one of all tier ones when it comes to closers. Who would have thought Daniel Palencia would be where he's at right now? So people are probably thinking we already have Daniel Palencia. Playoff baseball, those innings in October are completely different from the regular season. Emmanuel Clase did struggle a little bit in the playoffs, but they were towards the latter half of those games, specifically against Detroit. So, and he got to see Detroit a lot that year as well. So there's those things to take into consideration as well. I think him and an addition like Smith, like Cade Smith. I mean, you're talking the most loaded bullpen in baseball. Not saying it's not even close, but now you're talking a bullpen right now that has really stayed steady the entire year, and now you're adding 2 horses to it as well.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's much about Emmanuel Clase. I think it has to do with more of giving as many bullets to Counsell for games and situations, right? Now, Clase probably is going to slot in as a closer if he does get moved.
Yeah.
No but question. I think there is beauty in the matchup side of things, because imagine now you can throw Clase in the 8th, in the 7th. Is he going to do that? Probably not. But again, I'm just trying to find some good things here and positivity with all this. But holy smokes, is that an arm that you would love to have in the back end of your rotation or back end of your bullpen? I wouldn't be opposed to it. Again, what is the haul needed for a player like that at this point? I don't know, because
it's going to be a lot.
We're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but Cleveland might not be sellers. Let's talk. Let's get to that.
You want to get okay? Yeah, I just want to point out to that nice gentleman on Twitter. First of all, thank you for reaching out. We always
great conversation point.
Yeah, I didn't respond to you because I wanted to respond here because look, we always talk about shortening the game. Oh, there's starting pitchers, there's innings limits, and there's this, that, and the other thing. Okay, you just shrank your game because now you have the 9th taken care of. Palencia would slot into the 8th. You have that taken care of. Now Brad Keller, who, by the way, looked awesome on Saturday. Didn't mention that. He looked awesome this weekend. He's in the 7th. If you get your pitcher, your starter, whoever that may be, 5, 6, well, guess what? Your back 3 innings are taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. And we didn't even mention guys like Pomerantz, Thielbar. You would have just shrunk the game down. And even if Clase isn't the dominant guy he was last year, because he was overused. I believe in the Cubs series, they saw him each game they played, which is insane. But you have options. You can take a flyer. He's an all-world closer. You could take a chance on a guy like that who might be a little overused. You have Palencia, who's proven he can do it now. You have Keller, who could step in the 9th if need be. You have options, and it shrinks your game down. That's what Milwaukee does, people. Their starters only go 5, 6 max, unless it's someone like Peralta who can get you 7 or 8 on any given day. But they shrink the game down, especially when it was Devin Williams, Josh Hader. You get to the 8th, 9th innings, you're like, Jesus, we're screwed. This game's over. It was done in 7 because those 2 guys are so lights out. You have the opportunity to add a guy like this. Oh my God! I get it. He struggled in the playoffs last year, and that leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But he's back to himself. He's got 21 saves in the year. This would be a no-brainer. But again, is he going to get moved? According to this report, probably not. But you at least have to make a call and kick the tires. Because even if you don't, say it is someone like Mike Soroka, and you can't get a deal done for a Merrill Kelly, whose price is reportedly high, or a Sandy Alcantara, or an Edward Cabrera, or a whoever you want to throw in the mix. If you can't get a deal done then, okay. Your big move then is a closer, and your rotation, because by that time you would imagine Tyone will be back, Boyd, Shota, that's your 3 playoff starters? Okay, they only have to give you 5 solid then. 5, 6 solid innings. It seems like a no-brainer to me. Just saying. That's all, Your Honor. Okay. Ty, you've been doing some extensive research. Jesus, now I'm slurring. On who could be buyers, who could be sellers. And those teams on the bubble are the ones that we want to focus on real quick here. So we have a graphic here. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll flash it. If you're audio only, no problem. We will talk you through it. So let's flash the graphic. So you have 10 teams here that you've been tracking that are quote unquote on the bubble. In the National League, Arizona, who, and I want to make this, if you're watching on YouTube, we are
The
recording.
game is over. The game is over. So Arizona did sweep the Cardinals. So they are now 4.5 back. They are now 50-50. And
Okay.
St. Louis is 51-49.
Okay. And these records that are on the screen were as of recording. So some of these games weren't final. So the records you see here now might not be the most accurate. They'll be off by a game or two. But you see the general picture. So Arizona, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Atlanta, who we've talked about already, making players like Albies available. I think they just answered their question. Yes, they will be selling. And the frisky Miami Marlins, also, they've been kind of awesome lately. Kyle Stowers has become a star in front of our eyes. So we'll focus on the National League first, Ty. So let's focus on those 5 teams: Arizona, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Atlanta, and Miami.
Absolutely. So credit to Alex for creating this graphic as well, because this is something that I've been looking forward to discussing throughout this, next, like we said, 14 days. We're now starting tomorrow, 11 days away from the trade deadline on the 31st. I did actually tweet as well the buyers, the on the bubble teams, and then the sellers. And so I'll be posting about that after the game tonight as well. So looking at this right now, so Arizona, if I'm looking at teams that are sort of on the rise now over the weekend that really did improve their chances, starting off with Cincinnati at the New York this weekend against the Mets. They did win 2 out of 3. Terry Francona, man, has just been what an addition he has been to that team that's always sort of been on the fence of how they're going to look. I know this is a Cubs podcast. We got to give credit where credit's due. Cincinnati is now 2.5 out of the wild card. Their next series, and this is where it makes it very interesting, is that they're at Washington for the next 3 games. So that's a team to watch out for. And then the other 2 teams that I'm looking at that are sort of in the picture now. So we did mention the Miami Marlins against the Royals. They did win 2 out of 3. So they are 7.5 back. We did have the Braves on this graphic, and the Braves are pretty much out of it at this point. As well, they did lose 2 out of 3 against the New York Yankees. Now they're 10.5 back, but the Miami Marlins, they're 7.5 back. The only issue they're going to have is that they are playing San Diego. They are playing them at home, but they got a 3-game set against San Diego, which ultimately can put them out of it. So that's going to be intriguing watch. And then finally, like we said, Arizona took care of business and took care of it well. Swept the St. Louis Cardinals, making them 4.5 back now out of the last wild card spot as well. And for them, they are now going to be playing Houston. So again, we're looking at the risers: Cincinnati, Miami, and Arizona. Which team has dipped out of the National League thus far is the Atlanta Braves. The other 2 teams, the other team, St. Louis, is still in the cards at 3.5, no pun intended, but 3.5 back on the last wild card spot. Alex, would you like me to run through the American League as well then?
Yes, so the American League teams, as again, the records, if you're watching on YouTube, are as of recording, so they might not be up to date. But you basically have the American League Central outside. We don't have the White Sox. We know they're sellers. We don't have to question that. And the Tigers, who are one of the best teams in baseball. So, but the Twins, kind of floating around 500. What are they going to do? The Royals, same deal. And the Royals, because they're coming into your barn starting tomorrow, that's 3 games. You could put them under and try and take Seth Lugo, Carlos Estevez, any of the guys that you might have circled on your board. If you take care of the Royals, you might send them into selling. Cleveland is another team that we just mentioned with the Clase rumors. The fact that those are out there makes me think they might want to sell. And then you have the Texas Rangers, who have been kind of a blah team all season, and the Anaheim Angels, who, listen, folks, the Angels are on this graphic because they should be sellers, but the way they are run, who knows? They might try and swing for Juan Soto. Who knows with that team any time of year. But anyway, so those are the 5 teams: Twins, Royals, Guardians, Rangers, Angels. Ty, run us through those 5 teams.
Absolutely. So Minnesota they're now, this weekend was rough for them because the fact is that they were at Colorado. They lost 2 out of 3. They're now 5 back, and now they have the LA Dodgers for 3. So the Dodgers, who right now looks like they still have a chance to somehow beat the Brewers, looks like 2 outs with runners on first and second in their game, but they're going to be pissed off if they lose this game against Milwaukee tonight. So Minnesota's in a tough spot. Kansas City did lose 2 out of 3 as well. So some of the names that Alex has mentioned here on the show, we've mentioned in other past shows as well. They're now 5 back, and now they get our Chicago Cubbies for 3. Cleveland, though, Cleveland swept the Athletics. They're now 4 games back. That's why the Clase rumors are difficult to feel as if they're real, just because they now have a 4-game set against Baltimore. So they could ultimately find their way back into the wild card right after this series, before next week starts. Before the weekend, and next thing you know, they may be the second wild card team. It's all up in the cards. Texas has had a good weekend thus far. As of recording, they do play tonight against the Detroit Tigers. They have won the first 2 games. They are only 3 games out of the last wild card spot, and then they'll play the Athletics, of course, after that. And then finally, the LA Angels. They're still in it. They did win 2 out of 3 at Philly, so they're 4 games back, but they do have 3 games set at in New York against the Mets. Overall, with these teams, right, these are all teams that, like we said, are on the bubble right now that have a shot at being buyers at the deadline or selling off really key pieces, or maybe just selling off a little bit. Last thing I'll discuss with all of this too, Alex, is that Jed made a great point, is that teams may sell piece, or Jed didn't discuss this, or maybe it was Boog or somebody on the broadcast today mentioned it. Some of these teams may sell players off. Doesn't mean they're out of it. They may sell some players off. That might be a tough contract for them, or maybe they just don't have, they don't feel at this time that they're the right asset to keep, and they can get a little bit back for them, but they have a backup, player in the minor leagues, or they have a backup player on the roster currently that can take that position moving forward. But as I said, that, if you really want to keep up to date on just where teams are at, I recommend doing that after each of the series, because again, teams could win on Friday, but then lose the next 2 on Saturday and Sunday, or throughout these series. So it's going to be interesting, man. All these teams are really still in it. In my opinion, the only team that's really out of it at this point is now the Braves. I think I'm going to take them out of that section there. But again, this is, things are getting interesting.
Yeah. And audience, I'm just going to warn you. Yes, we are a Cubs show, but we're going to be talking about a lot of different teams in the next 11 days, just because that does affect what the Cubs do. And you mentioned Texas being on a roll. They play Scooball tonight. So I would imagine Detroit will probably win tonight with Scooball on the hill, but you never know. But I'm just warning the audience, we're going to be talking a lot about teams that may or may not be out of it, and it does affect the Cubs, especially this year. These playoff teams, if Arizona figures it out and gets hot, they're kind of scary. Like, we almost kind of want them to be sellers, because if they were to somehow sneak into the playoffs, the rotation is solid. Offensively, Suarez hit 2 more homers again today. Like, it's just, these are some teams that we kind of want to go sell just because they're scary. Even St. Louis, we all know they'll find some hot dog vendor that throws 98 and will be pitching game 1 of the postseason. We're like, where did this guy come from? That's the Cardinal way. It always has been in my lifetime. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Ty. You can giggle all you want.
I'm going to giggle. I will say this. This will lead into our next, our last segment here. But Kansas City, you can put them out of it this upcoming week.
Yep.
And then you're going to have the ability to ask them for some of these names. So I'm excited to talk about this upcoming series.
Yeah, let's do it. So game 1, and again, we're recording early enough where nothing's been announced yet. In fact, as I'm yapping, I will try and see if they've announced anything. We know tomorrow now that the Cubs will be going with an opener/bullpen game. It'll be Noah Cameron going for the Royals, who's been pretty awesome. Young left-handed pitcher, is 3-4 in the season, 2.31 ERA in 70 innings pitched. Ty, you look like you have breaking news.
No. Sorry, 6-5 Dodgers right now, or 6-5 Milwaukee. Excuse me. Sorry, 6-5 Milwaukee with 2 outs with 2 strikes. I'm not watching the game while we're doing the broadcast.
Oh, okay, that's fine. No, actually, that look, man. The reality is the Brewers, we're just going to have to keep looking over our shoulder because they won't go away. All right, so back to the Cubs-Royals. So Noah Cameron will be on the mound for the Royals. Ryan Brazier will be taking the hill to start for the Cubs. I would imagine it's just a bullpen game followed by flex and yada yada. Game 2, the Royals have not announced their starting pitcher, but whoever it is will be going up against Matthew Boyd, the veteran southpaw, is 10-3 on the season. He did not pitch in the All-Star game, so he's gotten plenty of rest. He's got a 2.34 ERA on the season. And then game 3 will be one of those Cubs rumored targets, Seth Lugo, who on the season is 6-5 with a 2.94 ERA versus TBD for the Cubs. So we still, as of recording, don't know the pitching matchups, but I mean, Ty and I have already talked about it. It is really important that you at least win this series because you can put Kansas City out of it. If you sweep, you might as well on Thursday, on the off day. How much would it take for Seth Lugo? Don't let him get on a plane. Just keep him here. We'll take him to the South Side for the weekend. But this is a really important series, even though Kansas City, people are like, Kansas City? Yeah. They have a lot of pieces that would help your ball club. So, Ty, what are the expectations against the Royals?
Yeah, I think it's 2 out of 3 because you bought yourself a game with, taking 2 out of 3 from Boston, right? So now you can go 500 at home before you head over to, this, wonderful joking, the South Side of Chicago. Play 3-game set against the White Sox, which you should
Campfire
sweep.
milkshakes for everyone.
Exactly. So think about it, man. If you take 2 out of 3, I would say personally, you try to sweep the White Sox because I think Luis Robert's going to get possibly even traded before that series with how he's looked thus far. So you really take anybody out of their lineup at that point. Then you're looking at possibly going 7-2 on this road trip, or basically this home plus road trip before you face the Brewers next week, which again, that series will be in Milwaukee. So my expectation is that 2 out of 3, Matthew Boyd, I'm going up against anybody in that rotation right now. Hopefully they continue on this positive trend against left-handed starters. Obviously against Crochet, didn't work out in their favor. Garrett Crochet is Garrett Crochet. So they did actually put up some really, really quality at-bats against him. I feel like they did very well considering the fact of, Crochet had actually his good stuff today as well. So it wasn't like he was necessarily doing those things. So it was good to see them be aggressive. Hopefully they can be aggressive on the base pass again on this upcoming series as well. That's something to watch out for because I think that's a positive trend moving forward. So Noah Cameron, going back to the left-handed starters thing, they do face Noah Cameron out of the gates, which he's a rookie. And he's actually been a guy who's actually looked good thus far. But again, the Cubs have been that good. So they should do well against Noah Cameron. So win those first 2. And then I think Lugo is going to be a tough matchup. So we'll see. I think 2 out of 3 is the goal. If you can sweep, that buys you 1 against the White Sox because they're obviously in the South Side for that. So again, 2 out of 3 is the goal. Sweeping would be tremendous.
We have to do it. Breaking news, the Cubs are now tied for first in the National League Central after a complete second sweep of the Dodgers. And again, we're not watching. Well, you may have been watching just slightly. But apparently Jesse Rogers just tweeted out there was a terrible base running error by Andy Pages, who also dropped a routine fly ball. Like, thanks for nothing, Dodgers. I want to end this positive. Look, this was a great show. I had a lot of fun. And the Cubs played well this weekend. Yeah. But we can't even enjoy it because now, even though we have one of the best records in all of baseball, so does that stupid little engine that resides in Milwaukee, and they have Seattle now. You would think that they would struggle up there, but I'm so tired of them. I'm so tired. They give me migraines. I hate them. Okay, I'm going to stop whining, and we should probably end the show. But, yep, that's your breaking news before we hang up here. Brewers and Cubs now tied for first in National League Central.
We got to control what we can control, and then we're going to beat the brakes off of them in those 8 games. I'm leaving it at that. End the show, Alex.
I just don't like
them. Don't ever do that again.
Okay.
Alex, end the freaking show because I this is infuriating, but the Cubs will control what they can control, and I can't wait till we go up north, Wrigley North, next weekend and win 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee. But let's end the show.
Wrigley North better be loud for those 3 games. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, baby.
Whoa, buddy. All right. That is going to end it for us. Cubs win the weekend series. Let's not forget that. They win a series against a very good Red Sox team that is fighting for their lives this season so they don't have to sell. So Cubs win, Brewers sweep. But anyway, that is going to do it for Ty and myself. You can follow us both on Twitter. I am at AJ Brawl. Ty's got a lot of good stuff on Twitter, so make sure you follow him at SetupManTy. Also, kind of a fun announcement. Wednesday, yes, Ty and I will be back, but the Podfather will also be joining us. We will be recording around 7 o'clock Central, so that should be up on YouTube shortly after we finish that. Yeah, should be a fun show. But we got to get one game, one pitch, one inning at a time. Let's beat the Royals. Anyway, we'll be back Wednesday. Ty, thank you for doing this with me. I am Alex. That's Ty. We are going to go ice up. We will see you Wednesday. Go Cubs. I hate the Brewers.